Hi there, my name's Neil. I'm the Director of Marketing at Blockstream. We just had our third halvening a few days ago, and the theory is not difficult. If the supply of Bitcoin goes down and the demand stays the same, we can expect the price to go up. And if we do see another Bitcoin bull market, then that will also lead to congestion on the Bitcoin main chain. So today's talk is going to be looking at solutions for traders in dealing with that kind of congestion to ensure that the Bitcoin continues to flow and people can make their trades. So what are we going to cover today? First thing is to look at Liquid and who it's for. There are much better Liquid introductions on Blockstream's YouTube channel, but we'll be going into a very brief discussion of that for anybody that's not familiar with Liquid. Then we'll be looking at the relationship between halvenings and congestion before looking at some solutions to that potential congestion. And then finally, we'll look at Liquid as one of those solutions and look at ways to use it to ensure that traders and exchanges can continue to make their trades. So first things first, what is Liquid and who is it for? So at its most basic, Liquid is a sidechain, which means that it doesn't start with any tokens of its own. And to create liquid Bitcoins on the sidechain, you have to lock Bitcoins on the main chain. And then to get the Bitcoins back on the Bitcoin main chain, you have to destroy liquid Bitcoins on the Liquid sidechain. By moving Bitcoin to a sidechain in this way, we get access to all sorts of fancy features which are useful for traders and exchanges that are not available on the main chain. If you're not a trader or an exchange, you probably don't need to be using Liquid. You should stick to Bitcoin for hodling for sure. And another thing to highlight is that Liquid is not really designed as a scaling solution, although it can definitely help in times of congestion. Liquid is designed to extend Bitcoin and provide unique features to fulfill kind of niche market demands. In this case, the needs of traders and exchanges. So let's quickly take a look at why Liquid was built. The trading industry, the cryptocurrency trading industry, has been facing quite a few challenges posed by the kind of high security nature of Bitcoin. So the first thing is that Bitcoin transactions are slow and unpredictable. They take a long time to arrive. You need to wait for multiple confirmations. Most exchanges require 2 or 3 confirmations, block confirmations are the times are unpredictable. So on average they happen every 10 minutes, but sometimes you can be waiting an hour. Another problem is the lack of confidentiality. What that means is when you make a transaction on Bitcoin, that all of the transaction details are revealed on the blockchain. So that means anybody that has any idea about the kind of addresses that you're using are able to see the size of your transactions and your transaction history, which is absolutely not ideal if you're a trader, if you're an institution. You want to keep that kind of data private. And finally, the industry is already trading with a lot of assets which are tokenized on top of other blockchains, but the problem with that, like a lot of platforms, a lot of tokens are using Ethereum, and the problem with that is they're facing buggy software. The tokens have to be built with some very complex smart contracts. You don't have any good, reliable multisig like exists on Bitcoin, and just generally, there's a lot of issues maintaining all of the different implementations there. So Liquid is designed to deal with these issues. It allows traders to trade extremely quickly. Liquid has 1-minute block times, and final settlement is achieved within 2 confirmations, which means that you can fully settle any size transaction within 2 minutes. It uses some really cool cryptography called confidential transactions, which allows traders to make the transaction safe in the knowledge that their transaction data is hidden on the blockchain. So if you make a transaction on Liquid, no third-party observers of the blockchain can see the amounts that you transacted or the kind of assets that you're using. they can only see one address sent to another address. And another thing that Liquid does is tokenization. So anybody can issue a token on the Liquid network. It's very easy. All you need is a Liquid node and a little bit of command line experience. You can issue stable coins, securities, and other digital assets. So a lot of people might ask, why even bother with a sidechain? Why even bother with Liquid? Why not build these features on Bitcoin itself? The simple answer is that it just takes too long. The Bitcoin protocol is very slow to adapt new features, and that's great because Bitcoin's strength is its security. But with a sidechain, with Liquid, it allows us to very quickly develop new features, to roll out new things that meet the needs of specific industry requirements for specific use cases, and it allows us to continue using that same reliable store of value, that reliable unit of account in Bitcoin. So to get Bitcoin into the network, you need to do a peg-in, which takes 102 Bitcoin confirmations. That can be performed by anybody with a Liquid node. Peg-outs only need 2 Liquid confirmations, which only takes 2 minutes, but that needs to be performed by a Liquid member. However, as a regular trader, you probably will never have to interact with a peg-in or a peg-out. That's all handled for you by Liquid members or integrated exchanges. Most traders will just need to trade their Bitcoin for Liquid Bitcoin or the Liquid Bitcoin for Bitcoin. And there's already many venues available for this. I've put some highlighted venues here: Bitfinex, Liquidity, and Bisq. All good options. There are many more. So another one of Liquid's great features is the ability to issue assets. You only need a Liquid node to do this. And some of the major assets already available on the platform include Tether USDT. So there's 16 million Tether already available on Liquid. Bull Bitcoin recently launched Liquid CAD, which is a Canadian dollar voucher, which can be used for purchasing Bitcoin or other goods. And then just a few days ago, we had Light Night, which is a new Battle Royale game based on Bitcoin, launch some NFTs, which represent some in-game skin items, which is really cool to see. Just a quick note on how Liquid works. Liquid doesn't use miners. It instead replaces miners in proof of work with a federation of functionaries, block signers, which sign or generate blocks every 1 minute. And by getting rid of proof of work, it allows us to achieve much faster block generation, and it also allows us to achieve faster finality as well. Like I said earlier, you can achieve finality in 2 blocks instead of waiting for that cumulative security that you achieve on Bitcoin. So we just had our 3rd halvening a few days ago. Let's have a look at some of the previous halvenings and what happened after those. So the last 2 halvenings directly preceded some of the biggest bull runs in Bitcoin history, as you can see on the chart here. One other thing that you can see is that the Bitcoin market is fairly seasonal. Most people make most of their money in those short bull market periods. That applies to both traders and exchanges. And the bear markets pretty much act as kind of downtime to get things ready, to get infrastructure ready, to get trading strategies ready for that those short periods of bull markets when things start kicking off. Given the precedent of the last 2 halvenings, it would be crazy, in my opinion, to not start making preparations in case the same thing happens again. Because if the bull market happens and you're not prepared to be able to start making trades, then that's going to end up costing traders and exchanges money. So one thing to highlight is that bull markets lead to congestion. You can see back in 2013, after the 2012 halvening, there was a sharp rise in transaction volume. This linear chart here kind of downplays the magnitude of that, but it was very big at the time. Bitcoin, however, was still very small, too small really for it to affect any kind of congestion. There was still plenty of space left in the blocks to handle any transactions people want to get in there. However, after the 2016 halvening, things started to change. For the first time, the Bitcoin blocks started to completely fill up, and traders started to find it very difficult to get their transactions into blocks when they were trying to move Bitcoin to exchanges or from exchange to exchange. Now we've just had the 2020 halvening, and we have multiples more liquidity sources than we did back in 2016, 2017. So this raises the question, where does all this extra transaction activity go if we enter another bull market? This time we have more exchanges, more brokerages. We even have a number of Wall Street institutions involved now. We're going to need some alternatives. So this is not just a Bitcoin problem. So I've just used Tether here as an example, but there are many more. So Tether originally was using the Omni layer, but in the 2017 bull market that started showing its limitations. Congestion rose to very, very high levels, to the point where some traders were paying $500 transaction fees to get into the next block. And Omni generally had a reputation for being unreliable. Then Tether very quickly launched on Ethereum in 2017 as a reaction to this. They used the ERC20 standard, but within a couple of months, even Ethereum was also getting congested, partly due to the Tether demand, but also because Tether was competing with lots of other applications. There are a lot of other smart contract applications using Ethereum, which increases the difficulty in getting into blocks. So in 2019, Tether also started issuing on the Liquid network, and here's a comment from Paolo, the Bitfinex CTO, saying that he believes that Liquid will be one of the most used transport layers for Bitcoin and other assets, especially USDT, in the next wave of high trading activity. So just to hammer home that this is not just a Bitcoin problem, there's a few examples here of traders and users online complaining about the congestion on the Ethereum blockchain, partly generated from, or in large part caused by the activity with Tether. So what are the solutions? We're going to look at some of these in more detail. There's a few options. First is credit lines, there's also altcoins, the Lightning Network, and then we're going to be taking a very close look at the Liquid network. So the first solution that traders might employ in a congestion scenario is credit lines. So there's already a lot of traders using these with exchanges already. Essentially how it works is it allows traders to start trading on an exchange before their funds arrive. So that might happen before they even initiate a transaction, or it may happen after they've initiated a transaction but before the confirmation is complete. It's only available to the largest traders, and you probably need a relationship with an exchange to achieve one of these. It's time consuming even for them to set it up, and because it's risky and it's expensive for exchanges, not all exchanges will even offer them. So some exchanges will offer lots of credit lines, and some will not offer credit lines whatsoever. Another problem with credit lines is it just adds systemic risk to the Bitcoin ecosystem, because it essentially inflates the Bitcoin supply by adding fake Bitcoin to the ecosystem. So one interesting solution that traders started using to deal with congestion in 2017 was to use altcoins to transfer funds from exchange to exchange. The way this would work is the trader would sell their Bitcoins for an altcoin, withdraw the altcoin to another exchange, and then buy Bitcoin with the altcoins on the second exchange. This is not an ideal solution because it exposes the trader to the volatility risk of altcoins, which is very high in general, and they also have to engage with very thin order books on each exchange for the buy and the sell. So that can result in slippage, which can start to eat into the traders' profits. And it also creates a bunch of artificial demand and volume for altcoins. So the Lightning Network recently emerged as a solution for exchanges, with Bitfinex launching an integration at the end of 2019. There's still only a handful of exchanges supporting Lightning, and it's great for small transactions. So like if you're dealing with a lot of retail buyers, it can be good for that. But in general, if you're a professional trader, if you're an institution, it's really, the Lightning Network is not ready for large payments. Channel liquidity becomes a problem. It requires a lot of active management by the exchange, active management by the traders themselves. And the thing with trading is that it's very unpredictable where you want to send funds next. So yeah, that can pose some challenges. Another big downside is the security of storage. So with Lightning, you can't use hardware wallets, you can't use multi-sig, you can't use cold storage. And that means exchanges with their very large wallets are putting their funds in a very precarious position, and traders as well may prefer to keep their funds on a more secure solution. We often get asked, why even bother with Liquid when the Lightning Network exists? Why not just use Lightning? We have a table here. I'm not going to go into it in detail. The two things that I'd like to draw attention to is, one, that these are complementary technologies. They don't really compete. They fulfill demands in two different niches. Liquid is designed for trading, and Lightning Network is really designed for retail merchant payments, both online and in-store. And the other thing is that Liquid supports Lightning. So I'm not sure how much I like this layer 1.5 term, but we'll use it here because it helps make the point. Lightning is chain agnostic, and Liquid is based on the Bitcoin code base. So Lightning is compatible with both, and it sits above both Bitcoin and Liquid. The beauty of Lightning on Liquid is that it not only expands the scalability of Liquid Bitcoin, but it also expands the scalability of many other commonly used assets in the trading industry. For example, Tether and any other stable coins that might launch on the Liquid network. So this is a good point to segue into a focus on how Liquid can help traders solve their congestion problems on the main chain. The Liquid network, the federation, has been growing very quickly over the last 18 months. We're now at 45 members, including exchanges, trading desks, wallets, and a bunch of other cryptocurrency companies. A lot of these are at various stages of integration. You can see on the right side of the slide here, a number of companies have already completed their integrations. A lot of exchanges there, some P2P marketplaces, some issuance platforms, and various others. So there's already a lot of activity there for traders that want to get started. There's already kind of a budding ecosystem to get involved with. So the way Liquid allows traders to avoid any congestion on the Bitcoin main chain is by providing an alternative blockchain to execute their transactions on. So instead of executing their Bitcoin transactions on the Bitcoin main chain, they would execute them on the Liquid sidechain. And this works the same if they're sending funds back to their own wallet or sending it from an exchange to an exchange for arbitrage. So here we have a demo of a standard Bitcoin withdrawal from one exchange to another. As you can see, it takes a long time, and it happens on the Bitcoin blockchain, which may be congested at the time. With a Liquid integrated exchange, the user can withdraw their Bitcoin balance at the exchange as Liquid Bitcoin. That Liquid Bitcoin arrives very quickly, and the trader's balance at the second exchange will be credited with Bitcoin. This works exactly the same for Tether on Liquid. When doing a withdrawal, just select Liquid as the withdrawal method, and it'll arrive at the next exchange a couple of minutes later without having to deal with any competition from CryptoKitties or applications like Fairwin. So on its own, Liquid is not a one-shot fix for congestion. It's really just the best tool for the job right now. It buys the industry time. Liquid's total capacity is very similar to Bitcoin's. And if we have another bull market following this halvening, we're going to need that extra space. And best of all, it can also be extended with Lightning if necessary. So after this presentation, I hope some of you will go out and start testing on Liquid. If you want to get a Liquid wallet, you should check out Blockstream Green. If you're a developer, head to Elements. That also doubles as a Liquid node. If you'd like to pick up some Liquid Bitcoin, then I've posted a few examples there, but there are many more. Wire is really good for picking up small amounts for testing using a debit card. And if you want to convert Bitcoin to Liquid Bitcoin, then liquidity is also a good option. It doesn't require any account setup. If you want to pick up some USDT, then Bitfinex and Bitsy have got you covered, and there's many more coming soon. Okay, thanks for tuning in. You can find these slides at the link shown below. To conclude the talk, I'd just like to highlight again that the Bitcoin exchange market is seasonal. Most money is made during the bull markets, so it's really important to make sure that you're prepared for those. If you're an exchange, you should start getting prepared now and integrated with Liquid. If you're a trader, you should probably be getting on the support line for your exchange and requesting that they get integrated with Liquid as soon as possible. We'll be hosting some questions and answers after this presentation, so hopefully look forward to seeing some of you then.